Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Big Tech Frenzy. Today, we're talking about all sorts of different names. Microsoft, Nvidia, Tesla. We've got, a lot of OpenAI drama going on, Robinhood in the mix, maybe some Coinbase if we end up getting there. But it'll be a fun show overall. Holy, are we seeing a lot of positive news for Nvidia these days? Just stacked on stacked on stacked news that seems positive for Nvidia. If you guys don't know, it's the heaviest position that I have in my portfolio. Second place doesn't make up for half of that. So got a lot riding on that name. Let's hope for good things. All right, let's jump immediately into some news. To start, why don't we get into this? We'll see what other investors are up to. All right, huge politician investing. $11 million order from Cleo Fields here, $15,000 sales. Okay, in the large buy orders, we have 6.65 million coming from Nvidia, 1.6 million coming from Amazon, 1 million from Apple, and 100,000 for Palantir. Pretty balanced large tech and growth investing portfolio. The only sell, Intel. I think that's actually appropriate. Maybe not the 1 million in Apple. I would not have made that similar bet, but everything else, I completely understand. I mean, I understand the Apple too. I get it. But $11 million worth of trades. Quite interesting. If you also noticed, heavily, the largest buy there, Amazon at 1.6 million, then 6.65 million was Nvidia. Largest order. Doesn't hurt. Maybe they've got some insider information. I'm not suggesting that. Just saying, if we're looking for confirmation bias, that's great. Now let's talk about some real confirmation. Okay. OpenAI and Oracle reach a deal to expand Starlink partnership in the United States. OpenAI just booked a massive 4.5 gigawatts of data center capacity from Oracle. 4.5 gigawatts. Essentially, the way that Jensen Huang sees it is that every 1 gigawatt of data centers is essentially about $50 billion worth of chip orders, along with networking and everything all included, can get anywhere between $45 to $50 billion. Okay. They want this to help push beyond Azure. Okay. Large deals with Nvidia and great for Oracle as well. So if you're an investor of Oracle, this sounds perfect. If you're an investor of AI companies in general or betting on the infrastructure, amazing. Okay, let's continue those orders past just Microsoft Azure. They want to become one of the fastest growing top 10 businesses in the world, fastest growing company, OpenAI. In order to do that, you have to do a lot of purchasing, accumulate a lot of debt, attract a lot of investors, and they are so far seemingly doing that quite well. Aside from Meta coming in and poaching some of their top researchers, they've held through pretty great through the massive amount of growth. All right. Speaking of Microsoft, by the way, because, they are NVIDIA's largest customer. And of course, that eats into a lot of their profits. So Microsoft has known for a very long time that the goal is to try to step away from the reliance of needing exclusively, I shouldn't say exclusively, but heavily NVIDIA chips. Okay. The way that they wanted to do that is create their own chips. They've done this for some time, but for the most part, they've been prototypes and not actually in production. Now, the next models of these and sort of the, model even after that are, or were expected to sort of come through in 2025, 2026. Well, even that ended up getting pushed back as well. So Microsoft scales back its AI chips, planning to go through 2028 to avoid delays. Microsoft aims to reduce reliance, but how do you reduce reliance whenever you continue to put on more and more delays? So I think that this is a very bullish catalyst for NVIDIA once again. You're buying yourself more time to learn how to make your chips a little bit better? What do you think NVIDIA is doing? So I don't see anything there that, screams anything other than more reliance on NVIDIA. Happy to see it. Happy to see it. You have to understand, guys, whenever my other positions go up, I'm happy. Okay. Robinhood going up, love it. SoFi going up, love it. Shopify even going up, great. When Nvidia goes up, That is the needle mover. That's how I'm going to make big money. So everything today has been spectacular. Which, speaking of, we can also just bring up this really quickly. Nvidia is now at 157.25 again, up 2.58% on the day. And then the other name that we're going to transition to here is Tesla. And Tesla also having an up 5% day, mainly due to drawbacks that we've seen in the last little bit. Some outward, not so nice comments from the likes of Donald Trump that has said that, if Elon wants all these subsidies and everything, maybe you should go back to South Africa. And I don't know. It's absolutely wild. But regardless, there was one piece of news that investors love to see, which is just cold, hard data. Okay. And they got a lot of that today. Whenever you see Tesla here, they put out their second quarter production and delivery numbers, as well as their deployment for energy storage products, which you can also see here, 9.6 gigawatts of energy storage, which is not the highest they've ever posted, but it's very close to the top. Okay. That's very, very great. On the delivery side, there was some confusing numbers that ended up coming out. As you can even see that this was a Q2 missed estimate. Okay. That's not entirely true. A lot of Wall Street actually said that we were probably going to come in around 350,000, 360,000. Okay. So this was actually a beat for most of Wall Street's expectations, but yet, people are still trying to pull this down and say that this is a massive miss. It's not like the numbers that they've done at the best of their times, but still. Important to know that Tesla is doing better than people have expected, that the brand damage that is going through might not be as strong as people suggest, and that if you do put sales on the cars, there are willing and able buyers. So that was quite interesting to see. In terms of the mix, as you guys know, I used to be heavily invested in both of those companies for long periods of time. Okay, I recently scaled back my Tesla position. Whenever Elon, and he's continuing to do this, gets very political, I don't want to be a part of that. Okay, I love what they're doing, and in fact, Tesla posted probably the best post that they've ever posted. I didn't put this in my notes, but I do want to bring this up because it was what an excellent sort of example of what this is. Let's see here. Bang. Okay. As you can see here, just a car company that does everything from industrial batteries that are like powering Australia to massive data centers, the manufacturing that builds everything from trucking to, every different model of their electric car. I mean, there's so much to love about Tesla. Solar City on top there, which is just Tesla Energy now. Charging networks that continue to expand year after year. Very, very exciting. Okay. But essentially, this is something that I want to be a part of. The cost that you have to pay for this investment is higher than other growth companies because it is associated with the Elon Musk brand. Probably one of the greatest entrepreneurs of all time that has pulled growth out of nowhere in very hard macro environments, growing two of the most successful companies at the exact same time whenever both of them were risking going bankrupt, both Tesla and SpaceX, all the way, trailing back to 2008. Like, insane stories here. Okay. That being said, high multiples and political key man risks do need to be understood or at least appreciated. Those risks need to be appreciated. And then on the other side of that is legitimately, not hopefully one of the fastest growing businesses, but like actually right now we're seeing the results. The fastest growing mega cap company, Nvidia, at the highest margins and at sort of a midpoint range of the price of that business from, let's say, a forward PE ratio, not even let alone PEG, it would be the lowest. But like one of the lowest valuations across the Mag 7 for the fastest growth, highest margin business. net income, free cash flow, you break it down how you like. That is important to realize as well. Okay? With a CEO that's non-political, that shows up to Beijing with, very highly regarded in Beijing, goes to Washington, very highly regarded on Washington. He says he's going to bring $500 billion of infrastructure development to the United States, and Trump says they're going to fast track that. That's very exciting. I don't think that Donald Trump is going to try to kill Elon Musk's businesses or try to deter or hamper his businesses. But being on his good side is also a very beneficial thing as well, if you're getting a lot of these permits fast-tracked and expedited. Palantir, buy now or wait? I'm the wrong person to ask. I would personally say wait, but historically, I mean, my understanding or what I expected to happen for that stock has been completely wrong. Okay. I look at that like another SaaS business. Like I look at a lot of companies like they're a part of the stock market and should be looked at like a company that's growing at a certain range, at certain multiples. How long can they hold it up? What are their risks? And then what should that price for? And whenever you look at Palantir, they're extremely strong. They should be having a very strong, valuation, very strong multiple, but they're sort of in a category of their own right now. Thoughts on Oscar Health? I don't have any. Here, wait. Let me put the comments on screen so everyone can see them. So do you think a Robotaxi crash will be a great buying opportunity or next trash warning? I mean, if there is a crash, which I'm sure there will be in its history, I mean, that the safety data kind of proves that that's going to happen. And I'm not saying that they're unsafe. I'd say that they're more safe than human drivers, but even a 90% reduction still leads for a 10% chance of a crash, I guess. But great buying opportunity, most likely. Depends how low that ends up going. I think that Robotaxi will get better over time. I don't understand how you collect more data, models get smarter, the understanding of that data gets better. Not a chance that Robotaxi gets worse over time, because the problem that they're solving is not getting harder. Okay, the problem of driving is static. Maybe in different rural areas or different countries, it might be slightly different or a harder challenge. But talking about specifically U.S. driving, North American driving, it's really the same problem through and through. Thoughts on Bull? 100 grand in Bull. Yeah, I think that they're very discounted compared to Robinhood. And whenever you divide out the amount of users and everything, it does look very cheap. I think that it could be a potential good value buy. Yeah. My style of investing is more along the lines of buying the best and trying to, understand culture and understand strong companies that way. Weebl is so discounted right now that there could be some level of, okay, this will appreciate just because it's undervalued versus peers. But in terms of buying the best, I don't put them there at all. They don't have the linear growth at all the way that a Robinhood or even a SoFi has. I mean, consistent growing throughout time. They've definitely been stagnant, decreasing at times, increasing last quarter, but that's because, markets are getting very excitable right now. But like, you look at other periods of time where it wasn't up 32% year over year, it was down in periods as well. So, yeah. Have you seen the Weebl warrants? Yes. So like I said, I do think in the short term that there's money to be made on that stock, right? And that it is undervalued. For the people who like to trade, I'm sure that's at the top of your list for exciting names. For the people who are buying companies that they want to set and forget, it is a different story. Thoughts on BMNR? I don't have any thoughts about BMNR. Okay. Speaking of the S&P 500, I put out a video today. Extremely excited that, well, there was only one piece to that video that I should have added, and that was Coinbase acquiring, or sorry, Capital One acquired DFS, Discovery Financial Services. Both companies were in the S&P 500, and whenever one S&P 500 company acquires another, that opens up a slot. And that was immediately filled by Coinbase, and Coinbase ran up like 25%. Okay. Well, a great business got into the S&P 500, Datadog. Okay. However, I was really hopeful that it was going to be Hood, but it already got filled. That's why you see in the after hours, we're up 10% on Datadog, but Hood did not actually end up getting in. I mean, I was really, really shocked. I think the only thing that could be said is that there was a sector problem, that they already had a lot of financials, which I was worried about to begin with, but why not AppLovin? I mean, they really don't like AppLovin. It's quite surprising. So maybe next time, maybe we'll have to wait for another sort of Juniper Networks type event where that company ends up getting acquired, because that's actually what ended up happening. I should have explained that. HP Hewlett Packard ended up acquiring another S&P 500 company, Juniper Networks, which opened up a slot. App has drama. I'm aware that App has drama, but App hasn't always had drama, and they've always been excluded. So yeah, I just, that's the only thing that's shocking me, is like, why not over the last 3 quarters have they not been added? You know? Did you see the OpenAI tweet about Hood? Absolutely. And it is most definitely on my list of topics here. So why don't we just jump into that really quick? So OpenAI put out on their own, did they not put it out on their own website or on their own thing? Or was it like from OpenAI, OpenAI newsroom? That's where it was from. Okay, here we go. OpenAI said, these OpenAI tokens are not AI equity. Now, what they're talking about here, they didn't say, oh, yes, they did. Never mind. But they're talking about Robinhood's new stock tokens and the private equity that they had in SpaceX and OpenAI. Okay. They were essentially saying, hey, we did not partner with Robinhood. We were not involved in this and do not endorse this. And any transfer of equity requires our approval. We have not approved any transfers. However, that's not exactly what Robinhood said. Robinhood essentially came out and said, hey, we did get shares. Maybe they didn't know what we were doing with them, but whenever we are buying those shares in OpenAI, we are holding 1-to-1 private equity. Okay. They don't exactly hold the actual stocks themselves. So think of it like an ADR, almost equivalent to buying a Chinese company, or even any real, like Nubank or something, right? You don't have the exact equity in the business. You have sort of like a Cayman Islands version of that business, but it's about as close as you're ever going to get. Now, it's not just tokens that do not equate to equity or that are trading alongside the equity. No, you are holding real shares of equity that Robinhood has purchased that OpenAI did not know what was for. Now, does this pose some sort of legal risk? Are there going to be regulators that come out and say, hey, you know what? This is not like that could prove some sort of debacle. But I mean, you don't get to be Robinhood without pushing boundaries. So I'm still super happy that they did this. If they have to pull it back, like it was like the prediction markets for the Super Bowl that actually they had to go back on or whatever, fine. But the only way they're going to find out is trying things, pushing boundaries, and doing something unique and very cool. But yeah, in terms of a bunch of people, including myself, saying, hey, if this is, not real equity, we're going to have some problems, because that's how I assumed that I was reading this. But then Vlad Tenev came out, Robinhood came out themselves, Robinhood comms teams came out to say, no, there is equity actually backing this. Whether you're public or private, there are shares of a business, right? And, you're able to sell those shares if you're able to basket them up and divide them amongst EU investors. And remember, these are also EU investors. They haven't rolled this out in the US. But yeah, it is very exciting nonetheless. Okay, let's go in to see. I actually tweeted about it, so here we go. Vlad Tenev said, at our recent crypto event, we launched a limited stock token giveaway on OpenAI and SpaceX to eligible European customers. By the way, let me pause right there. This was another interesting piece. Elon Musk came out. This is what the big drama is starting to come up again with Elon Musk and Sam Altman, is they were like, whenever OpenAI came out and said, we didn't approve any sale of our equity, Elon said, what equity? I thought you guys were a non-for-profit. What are you talking about equity? Like sort of picking fun at the fact that OpenAI might have more appropriately been called closed AI. Okay. So this is all starting to stir up again, but that also brought into fact that Elon Musk, one of his names are on the stock token thing, SpaceX, zero complaints. Didn't hear a peep from him. It's not like they came out and said, oh, we have a problem. They didn't buy any shares from us. Quiet. Not a peep. So that's also very interesting. Well, it is true that they aren't technically equity. We can see the precise dynamics in our terms for those that are interested. Your tokens effectively give retail investors exposure to private assets. Our giveaway plants a seed for something much bigger. And since our announcement, we've been hearing from many private companies that are eager to join us in the tokenization revolution. Thank you. The tokenization revolution. You're hearing a bunch of engagement from private companies. So why could that possibly be? Now, I've heard two different things. One, the companies that actually do want this are very, very confident in their valuation. Because a lot of private companies, supposedly, this is what I've been reading, is that they end up setting a valuation based on the seed rounds or like whatever level. It doesn't actually have to be a seed round, but it could be a different series round. And that's what they like holding public for long periods of time, even though potentially troubles in their business might actually re-rate their valuation much lower. Okay. But they don't want to bring that up. For example, Chime, they went public at like an $11 billion valuation or something like this, 11.3, 11.2 billion. But at one point, they had a $25 billion valuation at a previous seed. They got people to invest at a $25 billion round. Okay. That actually ended up getting rated much lower. Usually, you don't see a lot of companies go public whenever they're much lower. No one likes to have a down round. Okay. So having a public, sentiment, like place where employees, customers, everything are seeing sentiment of their business, a secondary market that says, hey, last time they went public at 10 billion. Yeah, sure. It'd be nice if it was trading at 15 or something like this, but it could also trade at 5. And not every private founder or team likes to have that level of liquidity. They like the lockup. Okay. Knowing that the companies that they're hearing a lot from private companies could actually mean that they are excited about the liquidity. But if you want liquidity, why don't you just IPO? So if they're not IPOing, is there something in the numbers that they don't want to disclose? There's a whole lot of weird nuance, might bring on some new legal troubles, because if you're sort of making secondary shares able to be purchased from the public, but that public doesn't need to be like accredited investors, which means they're not really assumed to know how to take on that much risk, or they don't have the net worth to say, well, it's okay if I lose a couple $100,000 here. To allow any investor, even a new investor with a couple $1,000s in their account, to come in and purchase shares of a company that is not audited, is, if they are excited about this investment, why aren't you going IPO? They don't have the money that's able to be lost. Maybe they're paycheck to paycheck. It is much more dangerous in terms of disclosures and investor protection and the people that are actually purchasing it. So there's so much gray area here. But also, I'm fine for Robinhood pushing those boundaries because, maybe we find some middle ground that potentially was not able to be found without them pushing those boundaries. So, little interesting. Curious on your guys' thoughts there. I think a major parabolic bull run is coming in SoFi. Could happen. Yep. Elon's greater than Sam. That's up to people's own. Elon's definitely more public than Sam Altman. That's probably for sure. I mean, I can't wait for an OpenAI IPO. That'll be such a great day. Unbelievable. Can OpenAI police what Hood does? It is definitely an area that I need more understanding on, but to some degree, in private markets, like what OpenAI's team said, is like they have to approve sale of their shares. An employee can't just go to some private investor and sell them without approval from the actual team. So in that case, is Robinhood sort of selling shares without their knowledge or something like this? Like, I don't know. That seems a little interesting to me. So I don't have the correct answer, but it does seem to fall under some gray areas that that maybe they have a case there for some sort of legal action. SoFi wins the long game. I mean, it's definitely true to some degree that, like, if Robinhood ends up getting burnt on this, or that there is some problem that befalls them, SoFi wants nothing to do with that. They don't want the brand risk. They don't want the legal trouble. SoFi plays it by the book. But what does that mean to you for a company that takes 10 shots and makes 9 of them versus a company that takes 50 shots and only makes 30 of them? Do you want the company that has like a 40% or a 60% approval rating versus a 90% approval rating? But then at the end of the day, one got 9 shots on goal, the other one got 30. So I do think that Robinhood is playing a risky game with these types of new products, but they don't all have to work. Very different risk tolerances, especially now, like purchasing at these valuations. Robinhood at $100, like, you're taking on a lot more risk at Robinhood at $100. You're almost taking, well, I don't want to say no risk, but I mean, like, if the market goes into a bear market, the financial hit that Robinhood will take is severe. The financial hit that SoFi will take, barely existent. They'll continue to grow quarter over quarter. Like, I think that SoFi is going to create a business almost like a Netflix or a Costco, where they have such an undeniable business. It doesn't have to be the fastest growing, doesn't have to be the highest margin, but it just has to be undeniable. That it's an area that people need exposure to because that they're going to win. And they definitely are doing that, and then pair that with still incredible growth. Like, I'm not saying that they're not a growth company. I mean, 30+%, like, They're an incredibly fast-growing business and pretty undeniable. Um, More of you use Robinhood than SoFi. I mean, probably amongst this community of like active investors, but I think that is something real to say about like 11 million users that use SoFi. I mean, if you actually look at the total member ads from each business, SoFi adds more members to their company each quarter than Robinhood does. That's been a very consistent statistic. So if they just keep doing that, they'll be just fine. Tanner, have you revised your price target on latest Hood event? Not really. I'm still in the $80+ marks. I think that the company, like the stock can pump, but what is fair value is very different. Like if they would have gotten into the S&P 500 today, I think that they easily could have gotten to $120. Like the momentum stacked with everything new that they've just put out would be insane. But let's not forget about the trading, like the actual data that we're end up seeing on the volumes, right? They're like PayPal. Everything new that they're doing is great, but what it all boils down to is new trading volumes. For PayPal, it's like every campaign, every motion, everything that they end up putting out is just for more volume. Robinhood's very much like that as well. And so I saw exactly how much crypto volume that they end up seeing. And everyone can point to Bitcoin's overall price and how that might be getting very high and everything, but price does not equal volume. And crypto volume actually hasn't been that high, especially on the retail side. It's been even lower. So like Q2 will be good, but it won't be like Q4. And to push the stock since Q4, you're essentially like tripling the company almost in that time. That's aggressive. That is aggressive to triple a company and then not do the same level of numbers. But I'm not saying that they don't have anything like they will have a lot. And then in the times whenever crypto does have more volume, having Bitstamp, having stock tokens, all the things that they just put out is very impressive. But we also don't know how much even stock tokens across 32 different countries, like, is that going to pick up? I've heard a lot of DMs from people saying, hey, there's no way I'm going to touch this because I don't know if I'm actually holding shares in the business. Like, I don't trust the mechanisms or like the actual engineering behind it. So it's a little different. We have to see, are customers going to start picking up on this? If they do, the price change will, the price target on the stock will change very quickly. Tanner, are you taking some profits on Hood at 110 or staying long term? I have zero plans to sell any shares. Zero plans. Am I going to write covered calls? Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to stay long. There's a 10-year play for me. I'm not even going to think about the price. We're definitely not at that level right now. Tokens are fugazi. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that it'll be I really do think finance will be dominated by blockchain. I think you're going to see every single company, like the entire financial industry will run on blockchain. Everything. And whenever JP Morgan gets heavily into payments and talking about converting entireties of like entire areas of their capital markets into blockchain setup like transactions, it's over, guys. And that's happening. JMPD, JP Morgan dollar, is a real thing. You know, they've asked for approval for capital markets. Whenever you think of debt markets and capital markets, JP Morgan is number one. There's not a number two. There is a number two, obviously, but they're the big fish. They make the decisions. Blockchain's on the way. Hood feels like a bubble at times. I don't know how many companies can push out the amount of products that they end up seeing with the amount of adoption that they have. If they continue to do that, I just don't know, like, if you can, if you can call that a bubble. You can't sue a token. You can't sue a dollar either. What are you talking about? You can sue the things that are underlying them. Saying you can't sue a token is like saying you can't sue an insurance policy. You're right, but you can sue an insurance company. Yeah, and you can still sue the company that the token is underlying. People really, 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 really do not understand blockchain. And because there have been bad things, people write it off. I hear this every day. Like, even with NFTs, everyone, like, I just say NFT and everyone goes, oh, that's a scam. And it's like, no, like the technology is real. What people are doing with it, the same thing with the internet. Everyone blew off the internet because the first thing were like, it was like the Wild West. Can I has cheeseburger or what? Like it was a joke, you know? And that's how crypto started as well. But it doesn't mean that the technology underlying it is any less real. What are my thoughts on Ethereum? Perfectly fine. How many Bored Apes do I have? 0. But I don't agree with Bored Apes. I think that that's fake. Or like, just there's no utility to that. But another form of an NFT might be an insurance policy, a deed to a property, like checks and everything like this. Like those, why can't those be NFTs? They're not able to be replicated. They're able to be seen on a chain that is verified by the entire world's online network, and banks are going to want that level of authenticity. Customers are going to want that authenticity. The cost of actually running these things are dirt cheap. You know? So sometimes people think that, like, it's only for gaming, or it's only for like whenever I say deeds to properties, they think I mean like in the metaverse. No, I'm talking about the actual piece of paper. Like, paper can be fraudulent. NFTs cannot be fraudulent. You can make your own NFT and call it whatever, but that doesn't mean that it's like, you can make a card game today and call it Tanner Manson cards, but it doesn't mean that they're Pokemon cards. But Pokemon is a real thing. There's value to that. People buy their games. They're a profitable business. Nintendo is a very profitable business. There's value to that. Like, for real. Okay, think about this as a use case, okay? Because I was talking about this like today or yesterday. In terms of a use case. The President of the United States puts out a message. How do we verify that some message or video that you saw of his was from him? How do we know that this wasn't an AI dupe, you know? How do we authenticate that? So if those things are on blockchain, you can see that there is a chain or an account that's exclusively for the White House. And that only those messages are coming from that account. That's the only way that you can verify them. That will happen. Can't AI take over and manipulate the blockchain? Says who? Now, if you're meaning quantum computing, the idea is that if there is something that has some sort of proof of work and that you are doing more than 50% of the work on the chain, that you have the voting right, which means that you could change the shared ledger, maybe. But we'll have to see what happens with quantum computing there. Blue check mark, yeah. Because the government wants to run on a private social media. It will happen. Yeah, but the security protocol will also be increased as well. I think the difference is like, okay, right now, like Bitcoin and stuff like that, yeah, maybe. But you just make the numbers bigger. Like, I don't know. What? So whenever quantum comes up, the whole internet it just goes away at that point? I don't believe it. NFTs can have copies if the blockchain forks. Yes, but that's one. Then you end up making a precedent of, okay, this is the new chain that is actually the truth. And then the last one we end up burning. So it'd be like, Ethereum Classic versus 2.0. The things that happen in Ethereum Classic are a completely different chain. No one listens to that. But yes, I mean that traditionally speaking, that is a truth. Um, Tanner, don't you think private companies may look at collaborating with Hood to sell tokens and thus not needing to go public? Yeah, but don't you think that regulators want companies to go public, or like they want them to go through the traditional IPO process to protect investors? So how could regulators let them go through the tokenization process without regulatory approval? So I think like legitimately day one, that the first time that this happens will be the last time. They'll put a company public without going through or like by public, I mean available in secondary markets, which means any investor can end up getting shares in them without being an accredited investor or having any sort of additional knowledge on the company, and the financials are not audited. Like, I think that regulators will be all over that. Um, why can't they do a Series B and C on blockchain? Well, I think it poses the exact same problem. Not anyone can buy into Series B and C. You need to be an accredited investor. Who's doing that auditing? Is Robinhood going to? If they're only allowing that for accredited investors, then I think everything is fine. But yeah. The whole idea of public markets is the pool of capital is so much greater. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. But with that also comes a level of consumer protection or investor protection. Two stocks that could double from today in 2 years. Um, Nubank and SoFi are the two that I'm looking at right now. Exactly. That's why we have auditors. I think Nvidia is going to do very, very, very well over the next 2 years. What's the chance that they get to $7.5 trillion market cap in 2 years? I don't know. That seems lofty. New is range bound. Is there a catalyst in the near future? I mean, yeah, definitely breaking into new markets. Argentina and US, I think, will be opened up in the next 2 years. And a different dollar. We're in a completely different area. Like the DXY was like at 109 last quarter. This quarter, it's at like 96. You know, that's a massive swing in how they're going to report quarter over quarter. So I think that this quarter will change a lot of things. Plus, I mean, range bound. I don't believe in range bound. I mean, obviously we do see it happen fundamentally, but I also think like companies that continue to just grow year over year and have massive success have breakouts. So I've seen Nubank be range bound in so many different areas: 3 to 4, 6 to 7, well, or maybe 7 to 8 if you want to call it that. And now at this area as well, and even at around 10, you know, and it's broken out so many times. So I do think that they'll continue to push higher if they just continue to execute. And the execution's there. They're one of the best companies, and they're extremely undervalued. If they get back to a point where they're potentially overvalued, I think that they double. And if the market's very frothy and are looking for additional names, you're going to see the people breaking out of just U.S. markets and investing in other different assets like Brazilian neobanks, for example. Is that a cat tail waving? No, it's a dog. But I have both my animals in the room right now. They're sleeping. Well, the dog isn't. Raina, come here. Up, 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 up. Good girl. Yeah. Hello. Hello. Yeah. There you go. And then the cat is over here. Yeah. What's up, buddy? This is my two animals that I'm chilling in the room with. Is it expensive to have dogs in the States? I'm from Canada. I wouldn't know. But for the most part, no, not at all. Okay. The comments are coming in so fast with the animals on screen. I can't even read anything. I have no idea what the breed of Raina is. I've heard so many different things. We've heard different things about her age and stuff. We have sort of but like she was a rescue, so we have no clue what age she is or what breed she is really. Her age might be around 2 to 4 is what I heard based on like her teeth or something. They're able to tell the age. But the breed, we've even heard from a lot of people that like big dog people that we get different guesses all the time. Yeah, they help me with the stock picks for sure. Canada and the US are about the same. Any live streams at 9:30? Not today. We were supposed to do, if you guys don't know, we have Evan Stock Market and Brad Freeman from the stock market nerd, two of the largest channels on X. If you're talking about like FinTwit or FinX accounts, we have them here on YouTube every week. We've been playing around with what time of the week that we want to do a show. It's historically been Tuesday or Wednesday. Looks like this week it might be, Thursday. So tomorrow at noon, I think we're actually having Brad Freeman and Evan on again to talk about everything that's happened over the last week and a bit. So those are like my favorite episodes to talk about, because we're just all over the place on the topics. They have such a different way of looking at investments than myself. So if you guys are really interested in different minds, some of the smartest minds in the game, it's quite interesting. What do you think about Grab? I think I'm fine with Nubank, and everything that I like about Grab, I like about Nubank and more. It's a faster growing, untapped market, which is a large reason why people like Grab. Large ecosystem play. Yeah, I don't know. That's why I have investments in Nubank and Mercado Libre, are for those same reasons. Untapped market, huge growth, just learning from peers of bigger markets, like what Grab's doing with Uber or what Mercado Libre is doing with Amazon. So many great things there. Are you bullish on SoFi or Nubank? Josh, surprisingly, both. Yeah, it's not an either or for me. And people don't like that, because I think what's really important to highlight, and I'm sure a lot of you also agree, but not everyone does. But like, realizing that risks are a real thing in investing, that individual companies do go down. And remember, like in this game, losing is not an option. Like lesson number one from Buffett: don't lose money, right? Now, as a growth investor who's trying to find companies that have really explosive growth, I'm going to find losers. Like, probably the last big one was like Skills. I was investing in that company and putting more and more money, and it just kept going down. I was buying the dip and it was going down. Sucked. Okay. That one hurt. However, we managed that risk by investing in a ton of other companies. And if I would have got Skills right, would have been a happy camper, wouldn't have to have explained this. But if you buy a bunch of companies, 80% of them do great, 90% of them do great, perfect. You full poured into the wrong name, you're out of the game forever. Being out of this game forever for me cannot happen. So buying one or the other, and everyone always talks about this, it's just not, who cares? It's not a part of my investing thesis. I like names, I buy names. I don't want to buy too much of something because I worry that things could go wrong. Nvidia is by far the largest I've ever had in my portfolio since like 2018 or 2019. So I'm taking some of the largest risks I've ever taken, but I'm also taking it with a $3.8 trillion company. Like, you have to realize the size and the ecosystem that they have, that I'm betting on. And no, I don't play with leverage. No. Once again, it just goes to a risk thing. I cannot get out of the game. Stock investing is a lifelong journey for me. Like, I saw there's some Flossie on X. Maybe some people know him here, but I've met them personally. Amazing person. I don't want to give, because I think they're pretty anonymous, but in the last couple weeks or month or so ago, I think his year-to-date performance is up like 370%. Okay. And I think a lot of people see that, and his account's at like $6 million or something, but of the last, like most of those millions have come in the last like month. That looks very exciting. But whenever I see that, I'm not even envious. It's not even in the realm of possibility. I don't see stocks that way. And so I'm very happy for them. But for me, I want a very sizable, generationally sized portfolio at a very long time from now. And I'm going to get there from outperformance without risking extinction, because that's the thing what Flossy's doing as well, is things could have gone wrong and the port could have easily gone the other direction. I don't want to take on those risks, especially because, like, I think his account's at 6 million. When do you stop? Is he going to continue to play this strategy until it gets to 10? Is he going to play that strategy until it gets to 20? Because if you continue to up and up your bets, but you're keeping the percentage of your portfolio bets the same, the time to extinction stays the same. It could be overnight, so I don't play like that. I have 20 stocks. I have 20 stocks and doing just fine. I just wouldn't own all tech or high flyers. I actually think the opposite. I think diversification with really high growth companies is the best way that I have found that success. Because then the upside is still very high, but the downside, like the companies that don't work, are not all like I actually think there's a lot of tech names that are working. It's just the ones that don't sometimes don't work at all, right? Because there's no underlying like asset to end up selling, right? So if it's just a product or an algorithm or some sort of software, whenever the light switch turns off at that business, they're worth nothing. So I actually think high growth diversification is what works for me. I like that a lot. Now, I'm not talking about the Nvidias or some of the larger names that actually do have, real assets. I'm talking about some of the smaller ones that are more sweat equity and smart teams and good cultures. Is there such thing as over diversification? Absolutely. 100%. You start seeing, especially like in the ETF field and everything like this, or mutual funds, you start seeing immediate over diversification. You end up getting into fund of funds where you're paying people to manage the purchasing of other funds just to bring up the management expense ratio, like the MERs. All that's just to take away from people's out of people's pockets and more into the fund managers. That's my belief. Okay. That came from a financial advisor who was told to sell those products. Okay. Meaning me. Now, in the same breath, I also think that an over diversification means that you're buying a whole bunch of stuff that you're probably not able to keep up with every single earnings call and everything. I mean, I've gotten into the 30 plus ranges for different stocks and everything. It's a lot to handle. Bringing it down to about 14, I listened to Bill Ackman one time and he said, we studied and everything. There's really no diversification that ends up happening above 14 names. That's my sweet spot right now. Based on a Bill Ackman quote, but also allows me to study those companies much deeper. Okay. So I think that is, so I'm an aggressive investor. I'm definitely in the case of aggressive. I'm just not degen. So I think like even whenever you look at different investors, how many dividend names do I have? 0. Like, I mean, unless you call Nvidia a dividend, like, I mean, I've got some of those names, but those aren't dividend names. I'm definitely full port growth, full port tech. I think the world's going digital. The world's going towards robotics, AI. My whole portfolio is going in that direction. But that doesn't mean that I just buy my entire portfolio into one of those names. Tanner, at this current price, Nvidia or Google? Well, this is a hard one. So in terms of the new money that that I have in my account that I'm actually putting towards, I am slightly buying Google over time. I also just bought some Amazon as well at this price. But Nvidia, I'm not actively buying anymore, but that's mainly due to the size of the portfolio already. But the fact that I continue to hold it here and not sell is a form of like positive belief into the future. I obviously don't think that they have negative news or bad things ahead of them, or else I would be selling. So at this current price, I'd have to say Nvidia, because that's what I'm holding the largest bulk of my portfolio in. But I'm actively buying Google here, if that makes sense. How big is your second biggest position? I think it's somewhere around 19%, maybe a little less than that. It's nowhere near what Nvidia's at. I am confident in Nvidia. It's the longest company that I've ever held for. That used to be Tesla, but I just sold it. And yeah, have a lot of belief. CEO's young. The team has the best talent in the entire world. Like, if you're in that field, you know that you can climb the ladder as high as you can possibly get. It leads you to Jensen, or potentially even Elon as well. But, you know, like I said, there might be some political stuff there. If you want a $400 million paycheck, maybe it's Mark Zuckerberg. But no, Jensen's team is unbelievable. Super, super belief in their business. I believe that the build out for artificial intelligence is nowhere near finished until we can potentially have workloads and like models that are able to end up tackling problems in agentic AI that are doing like what people's full jobs were before. We have so much more work to do, right? I don't think that this is a 2x or a 60% increase in productivity. I think it's closer to probably like a 20 or a 50x. So until that happens, there's going to be more build out. I'm long Nvidia, but I'm not going to let it get above 50%. So I think I'm at like 45 right now. And as it grows, I'm just going to continue to trim at that 50% mark. That'll just be a dividend in a way, cash generator. And I'm writing covered calls on it while we wait. I think currently I have some out for July 11th, $170 strike price. Tanner, have you looked into or have thoughts on CRM? I'll do you one better. I have shares of CRM. Big believer in Salesforce, big believer in ServiceNow. I hold them both. You know, some of the biggest ways that I think companies are going to get access to artificial intelligence, you're going to need, well, one, big pools of data on your own business, and then two, distribution to tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of customers, for which ServiceNow and Salesforce have quite the great distribution in that case, in teams that are full focused on that future. What percentage, if any, do you hold in index funds like S&P 500? Currently, I don't have any S&P 500. I have a few different names in like covered call strategy ones, specifically JP Morgan. And I use them mainly for just trimming whenever I want to buy a company. I use it almost like cash, like a cash generator. What price would you load up on Google? Well, I mean, yeah, I'm buying right now. So like I'm buying here, load up. I mean, I don't know. Depends. What's the news that brought it down $30? You know what I mean? Like, it depends. Rubrik thoughts? I don't have a ton. But whenever I continue to look at some of the fastest growing software names in the world, like Rubrik continues to come up, especially at the valuation that they're at. Although it increased a lot, they're actually quite excuse me, cheap. And I really, really, really need a cybersecurity name. Still haven't made any plans for them because we're just in an unlimited bull market right now. I probably should start a position, but I honestly think I'll be fine for the names that I currently have. But yeah, I do want a cybersecurity name, and Rubrik continues to come very high up on that list. I don't like yield max names. Nadia, sorry I'm late for class. That's funny. What about an energy play? I mean, it's definitely high up on the list of things that I want. I mean, if you're talking about data center buildouts, there's really two things that you want to think about, like chip manufacturers and then energy. But I haven't found a good name that I really want. A lot of the pure nuclear names or something like this have extended quite a lot. I was looking into VG for a bit, which is not quite for the same purpose, but still in energy, and I never ended up taking a position in that. But yeah. So no energy names right now, no cybersecurity names, but have looked into both. Obviously, they both will be a part of the future. Tanner, can we talk about Canadian stocks on July 4th? Yeah, I was talking about a bunch of American stocks on Canada Day on July 1st, which was funny, but yeah. How about space? I don't have any specific thought. Well, I've shared my thoughts with Amit and Roy, and I think that I have historically misunderstood the national security importance of companies like SpaceX. Like, I think America owning space will be a massive, massive advantage, and also helps with their overall security as well. But I don't have any current positions, and if I were to have started them, I think I should have started them a little earlier. But I don't know. Like, the first time I bought Tesla was so long. I mean, like 2015. It's the first stock I ever purchased. And I remember thinking like, oh, I'm getting on this early, and it still seemed expensive, but like 10 years from now, it's going to be much bigger and I won't have to think about that. And I think space probably falls under the same thing. Like, if you're buying it, you don't have to worry about it. But I just hate the fact that SpaceX, the number one name, the name that I think is most reliable and that has by far the best talent, in my opinion, is not an audited and available company in public markets with high liquidity. Space is the 51st state, but like, they really want it to be, for sure. I think it's like the biggest, like, not so secret. How did they say that saying? Anyway, just I think it's even whenever Elon and Trump were having their spat, that they said, hey, you know what, SpaceX is going to continue to do what it does, and we're not going to stop anything there, is because I think it really is like, it's more than a private company at this point. I mean, to some people that's clear and obvious, but I think it's to like a very, very large extent. Would you be for Canada becoming a 51st state? I actually would. All my money is in US dollars, US equities. I recently just changed cell providers. And if you guys know much about Canada, you kind of have two choices. You can go from Rogers or Bell, and it's a complete duopoly. And that's just one sector. There's so many sectors and areas of Canada that we're just getting so ripped off, and the costs are so unbelievably high because competition is just non-existent. Same with our big 5 banks. We've got 5 banks in finance or in our financials, and there's really not many other competitors. I would love, so many businesses, the Cash Apps, the SoFis, the Robinhoods, every single business to pour its way up into Canada, to force the larger companies to give better rates on loans, to offer better APYs in checking and savings accounts. And yes, we have like 1 or 2 disruptors here that make fintech not non-existent here, but it's not nearly the competition like it is in America. So heartbreaking to hear that from a fellow Canadian. Yeah, but I mean, what gets worse? What do we lose? I like that. That's the thing that I haven't heard. I heard a bunch of people say, well, you know what? I don't want to be called an American. Okay, but I've always heard the thing, like, sell your pride to that's one way that you'll get rich. Like what's the CEO of Broadcom's name? The whole thing about he ended up selling he ended up acquiring a business, Broadcom, which is actually funny. But then part of the deal for getting such an amazing deal on Broadcom was to change the name of the entire business to Broadcom. That's sort of how I feel with the same thing. I mean, I don't care what you call me. I want a better, more stable currency. I want to be a superpower. I want a military that can actually defend me. I want, and not just relying on allies and trade partners. I mean, I really want to own that infrastructure. Hawktan, thank you. He was definitely a person that sold his pride to get rich. And he's one of the smartest CEOs to have ever lived. Probably. He probably will go down that way. You won't have the best health insurance. Yeah, but I mean, that could also be staying the same. Like, that's why I never understood the debate with the Canada going over to the States. It's like, what if they just said, okay, you can manage as your own state, your own healthcare? Like, if that is the one thing that everyone wants to stay the same, if Trump really wanted Canada, just say, hey, that part of your state tax can go towards your healthcare, and you can keep everything, all the pricing, all the same. If that's what you want. But Tanner, I was inherited 25,000 shares of UPS. What should I do with it? Go talk to a financial advisor. I don't know. Don't go to YouTubers to solve your financial problems. Isn't there speech laws here? There is. Yeah, I know. I'm a true political refugee here. Dude, I'm a Canadian, guys. I'm a Canadian. Okay. I don't know if you guys know much about the currency exchange, but the US dollar is much stronger than the Canadian dollar. Okay. YouTube pays me in American dollars. Every sponsorship, every ad, whatever, the courses, all in US dollars. I don't even accept Canadian dollars. Like, it might be upsetting for some people to hear, but I never hear an argument otherwise. Our land is not going to somehow change. The beautiful Rockies or whatever you're interested in, still going to be there. The city that you go to is still going to be the same, you know? Or even what I think is even more interesting for some is that I would like, similarly to what the EU also has, is just a passport amongst North Americaners, or between, US and Canada, if this helps more people or whatever, is that that there is some sort of free travel. I don't know. Maybe Canada has a fentanyl problem or whatever. I don't want to talk too much politics in terms of that direction, but like, there is definite benefits for Americans coming up to Canada to work, and Canadians coming down to America to work, and it benefits both. I mean, whenever I'm in the States, whenever I travel to the States, I'm buying your Airbnbs, buying your hotel rooms, paying for your food, paying for your services, everything like this. And then I go back home. But getting in here, getting to the States sucks, dude. The border is such a slowdown for no reason. I mean, obviously there's like, but the same way that people travel state to state, I think it should, I don't know, maybe Americans have stronger opinions than me, but whenever I go down to the States, I feel very at home. I look around, I see people that are like me. Like, I don't know. I think we're culturally very the same. Yeah, but like even that, like, is America ready? It's gravy on French fries. Oh, let's not forget the cheese curds. Nexus. Do you know how to apply for Nexus? Why is it so hard? Why do I have to wait for 3 years to get a Nexus visa? Like, or whatever it's called, the freaking Nexus passport. It's crazy, dude. Would you move to the States? Absolutely. Nexus is effing painful. It is. But I'm also from this is another part that I think people need to realize as well. I'm also from probably the most American, like someone just brought up Quebec. Quebec is definitely different than a lot of America. But Toronto is just a metropolitan city. I mean, like, I go to Toronto, I go to New York. Like, I don't know. It feels very similar. One feels much heavily or more heavily populated, but they're large cities. I don't know. They're large Western cities. USA Gold Card. I don't have that kind of cash, man. I'm investing for that, but I don't have 5 million to throw around to then not invest. So it's not like once you pass a $5 million net worth that you get entry. You have to pay 5 million. We ain't like that. Yeah, but come to Texas doesn't mean I get to come to like. What state would you live in? Well, that's why I love, a lot of what America stands for is that, like, a lot of the states should represent different things, and that they shouldn't all be one big mind meld. Mind meld, is that a word? And that based on my values and what I believe in and the different things that I'm looking for, I can free travel across different states. Canada is a massive, massive place, but there's like 4 inhabitable areas. Everything else is snow and rock, and most of it is not even plantable for food. So no one lives there. It's just big rock and then glacier and then a ton of islands. Okay. So we look huge on a map, but it's like only a few spots across a border. Because humans like being in warm climates. Who could have thought? So, I like the idea of, I don't know what state I would live in, but I'd like to try a lot of them out. You know what I mean? I'd like to see where I'd like to live. Come to Florida. I go to Florida a lot. Yeah, I've got a lot of like Canadians, especially in the like Toronto, like Ontario space. They go down to Florida a lot to escape the winter. So I've got a lot of family that go down and have second properties or something like that in Florida. So, which is definitely easy too. Like, especially with travel, family is a big thing, especially if you have a large family, which I'm like Dutch on my background. So there's there's just a ton of us. So there's a lot of family in Florida. That definitely makes Florida a top contender. But there's a lot of cool areas that I like in the States. Is California making a comeback? How's California doing? I know there was kind of a little bit of a population exodus there for a little bit, but I heard that things are starting to turn around. Canadian pub in Houston? No, everyone, no, it's a dump. Well, I did actually, I did go to San Francisco, and it was crazy to see the tech culture there. But a crazy stark contrast between like the widest gap between Silicon Valley super entrepreneurs and as well as a drug addicted, population as well. I was going in to get some coffee at some place. It was like a popular, I'm sure you guys could guess it. I forget what the name of the chain was. And just like 2 feet out from the door was this person fully leaned over, and I was like, all right, I'll get coffee later. It's all right. I don't want to disturb the peace. So it definitely was different. Yeah, it was Pete's. It literally was. It was. That's so funny. I knew that you guys would get it. There was a mass exodus from Florida and Texas, or do you mean to Florida and Texas? Because I heard a lot of California actually went to, like, even entrepreneurs were starting, or like Austin had a big boom. There was a big boom in Miami as well, especially for a lot of the Silicon Valley. More tech names started getting offices and buildings in Miami. But one of the things I definitely will like, Ontario, we just have zero natural disasters, which is just amazing. Like, I don't get tornadoes, like really any bad weather, maybe a snowstorm, but even then it's like, all right, just shelter in place. Like, I don't know. In different areas in the States, it does blow me away. Like, as a Canadian, I'm sure being born there, it's much, different. Like handling natural disasters, but to me, like, dude, hurricanes, like, so what? We all just, every season or so, every couple of years, we all just like pack our cars and leave. And then we come back to see what's there. Like, to me, that's mind blowing, Like, my family had a couple places in Florida, like extended family and stuff. And these places are built like to shelter down. Like, they're designed out of concrete, essentially. To me, that's just mind-blowing. Like, it is so different. Like, they're little bomb shelters in a way. Like, because they know that they're going to get hit, or there's a good chance that they're going to suffer severe weather being so close to the water there. Tanner, did you see the Muppets version of you and Tevis I posted in the Discord? No. Where did you post this? Oh God. That's funny. Is this the new AI trend here? Because I could get on board with this. That's fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, join the Discord. Okay. If you guys want the things in the description, or what I can also do if we didn't talk about Datadog also getting in the S&P, not Hood, you can end up seeing the QR code that just leads to the exact same link as what you can find in the description. I know some people don't trust QR codes or whatever, that just use the thing in the description. But most times whenever you hold your phone up, it'll tell you what link it's sending you to, right? You don't have to, like, you'll see it like sends you to Discord or whatever. Tornadoes in the Midwest. Yeah, I know. There's just like a bunch of different areas in the States. You just pick your natural disaster. And I guess snow is ours, but even then it's like, yeah, I've never seen it so bad that it's ever stopped us from moving. Like, yeah, I don't know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. We turned a 30-minute show into an hour-and-a-half long show, as always. I really do appreciate you guys all coming out because, like I said, the schedule is 30 minutes, but it's the community that keeps me here, the questions, the discussion, whatever, whether we're on topic, off topic, talking about fintech stocks, big tech stocks, how we're playing things, trying to get me interested. And maybe I do end up taking positions in things that you guys have pointed me in the right direction towards. It's an incredible thing. So thank you all so much once again for showing up, for showing your support. But bye for now. If you haven't subscribed, do that. Consider it. Peace.